Hey, everybody. Welcome to our last day here at FOSS4G North America 2024. My name is Eddie Pickle. I am one of the organizers, but I really especially want to thank Adam Simmons and Brian Monheiser for all their great work, and the St. Louis team. I know this is our last morning. Oh, and there's still the smell of hamburgers from last night. So sorry about that, folks. I hope you all enjoyed last night's activities and the trivia and all that. We have a great program today, which, if I have to say anything about FOSS4G North America, the strength of this event is always the program. I mean, thank you all, the many speakers that are, I see many of you out here. Check Huva. I know many of you are like triple or quadruple booked. Pick the right one and go to it. There's just been so many wonderful presentations. That's just been great. A couple of quick announcements. We have decided to hold the next FOSS4G North America again in the DC, the National Capital Region somewhere, either late October or early November of next year. So we are especially looking for volunteers that would like to assist us. That would be super helpful. So reach out. My last name is indeed Pickle. I'm easy to find. Guido Stein is around here, etc. I'm sitting outside at the Crunchy Data table out here. So if you're interested in helping, please contact us. We would really love it. The contents of many of the sessions, of course, have been recorded, and that should be up. Thanks again, Adam Simmons, Project Geospatial, for the monitoring and compiling our recordings. So that should be available in the next few days after the conference. So anyway, that will be available to you all. And I had some remarks, which I can't read because my glasses are. Anyway, to introduce our keynote speaker this morning, we are really lucky to have Dr. Nadine Alameh from Taylor Geospatial Institute. I'm not going to introduce what she's doing about Taylor because I will let her do that. I will say that, of course, many of you know Nadine from being the president and CEO of the OGC. I knew her way before that, working on OGC standards back when she was at Northrop. She's a longtime geospatial expert, aerospace expert. We are here in St. Louis in large part because we wanted to go in conjunction with GeoResolution and the St. Louis activities, and because of the presence of Taylor and the exciting things that they're doing in the geospatial industry. So we are super lucky to have Nadine here to talk to us about what they're doing and what we can be doing to collaborate in the geospatial industry. So Nadine.
Thank you so much. How's everybody doing? Woo! Woo! All right. So let's start this. We are here. Woo! I need audience participation. It's the morning. So, and this is amazing because I know how hard Eddie and Guido and the whole team have been working to get us this far. Pulling together an event like this is not easy, so I'm very excited that we're finally here. We're making it happen, so this is very exciting. I'm even more excited because I found out that exactly a year ago is when I joined the Taylor Geospatial Institute. So this is like a really very special week. A year ago, I jumped into this adventure, that's the Taylor Geospatial Institute. And what do people see on social media? Oh, where is Nadine? You're going around the globe. Everybody's smiling. This is amazing. But the reality is this year has been, it's a roller coaster. And this is really me. And I'm the only one with my hands up because I was looking through my roller coaster pictures with my kids to find actually a picture that goes like, ah! I could not find. All my pictures were like, woo! So I'm like, hey, I guess I like this stuff. I like when I'm on a roller coaster. So in many ways, I am in the right place at the right time, because definitely what we're doing in geospatial in St. Louis is very, very unique. So it also got me, 1 year, just like, reflecting on how did I get here? And more importantly, the Taylor Geospatial Institute, because it's a new institute, there's this big responsibility of what you have to do with it, what people expect you to do with it. So it took me some time, and I want to start with you from the very, very beginning. So, I'm Nadine Alameh, and I'm a geek. I started my geospatial journey at MIT, so definitely coming to geospatial from the technology perspective. Some of us come from applications, from domains, from data, from geography. I came to it from tech. And this is 1999, so yes, I'm old. And I blame my advisor because we had this project where we had to pull Landsat imagery from the very first web map server out there, when for the very first time you can actually just get a little piece of the Landsat in the projection system that you want in JPEG to your desktop. But that was not enough for him. He made me every project, he made me do it in Esri, in ArcView and ArcInfo at the time, in GeoMedia, which was later Hexagon, in MapInfo. And for a graduate student, this is how I discovered standards. Standards were the way a graduate student, who is a combination of has no time and lazy at the same time, to actually do something once and then apply it many, many times, right? That's the magic of standards. It's the magic of you write one line of code, you can access so many servers out there, and then you have a piece of data, you put it out there, and everybody can use it without even calling you. That was transformational. Any people who've used WMS in this room? Yes, cool. All right, we've come a long way. We've come a long, long way. So this was when, the 90s, when we were using XML and SOAP, and there was the geography markup language, and then we all evolved with time. JSON, Open API. And this was, again, a long path towards the very, very first OGC standards, 2019, so it took 10 years to actually just get a standard out there, and that's the OGC API features part 1. But this is huge. Why? Because for the first time, we were not, here's the geospatial geeks over here, and here's the developer community over here. We were using everything that the developer community is using, Open APIs, JSON, and then we are making our stuff available to them, right, via the same technology, the same platforms. So this is a quick video. I'll give a shout out to OGC, and Christy is with us here today. So the OGC APIs, when they were released, or when everybody started using APIs, that was transformational because we were becoming truly part of the developer community, which is really huge. 2017, Stack. This guy, Chris Holmes, put a blog on Stack. Any Stack users? Yes. All right. And this was, again, unique in many ways, the way it was developed, the community behind the speed of the uptake in the community. This was huge, but it was even bigger because all of a sudden we're now into cloud-native geospatial. And that is, again, so you go from bigger, huge. I don't have to download the data. It's like, where is my advisor now, right? I don't even have to download anything. Here it is, it's on the cloud, I can do things with it, I can do things with it and with other stuff. It's just unbelievable. And then from here on, the explosion is just mind-blowing. Here are some examples from, things I interact with, and I know the world, and this room is full of many other examples. I know Matt. Matt Forrest is here somewhere. Again, there are Python packages for geospatial. Imagine, right, the luxury of today's developers that they have these resources available to them, and you don't have to have a whole career in geospatial so that you can start to play with the data, with the analytics. I love this so much. Kishang is here. I saw him earlier, same thing. So you've got Meta and Facebook releasing the segment anything model, and then what does the geospatial community do on a GitHub? It's like, hey, instead of tracking the soccer ball and the dad's socks, this is the commercial for segment anything if you haven't seen it, you can track cars, you can track trucks, you can track movement of anything, which is, again, for us, it's really good. Here's something else. So Cesium got acquired after I put my slides together, so congratulations to them. They're now Bentley Systems. But 3D tiles have powered the visualization of the Olympics. That's you and me and everybody, right? Getting us to this point, which is super, super cool. Cooler is gaming. Any, gaming fans over here? Or no people? Then everybody has their hands up. Don't be shy, but this is huge. So Unreal Engine, when they got into the game, when Roblox got into the game of geospatial, and now there are georeferencing plugins. In Unreal Engine, there's a plugin where you can get the Black Shark data, which I know also our Black Shark friends are here. You want even something cooler? So Javier, and this is 2 years ago from Carto, he started to experiment. He called it AI is the new UI, right? So how do we experiment with natural language? And, knowing me, I picked that, where's the Starbucks? And where are the competitors? This is again, when you talk about, you're in geospatial, mind-blowing. I'll show you another example, and actually there are several companies doing this. And I just picked one because I know Jesse and his team from Dante AI are also here. Look at this. Give me the battle damage assessment, right? What are the risks for my property? What's the movement of a certain feature? What's the safest evacuation route? I can go on and go on and go on. The fact that we got to this point, right, is mind-blowing. Here's where it's even more mind-blowing. Planet and NVIDIA, right? Announcing, I think a few months ago, yes, in June. So this is like, live. This is reality TV we're watching here, right? Think about this. NVIDIA chips on the sensors up there to do what? On-orbit compute, right? So you don't even have to get the data. You can get the alert, right? Flood alert, landslide alert, I don't know, enemy movement alert, deforestation alert. Again, this is huge, huge. So this is where we get from all of this and the cloud native and now this boom in the AI, right? So I'm trying to tell you, to try to convey to you, right, my roller coaster. Here I am. I want to do something amazing with the Taylor Geospatial Institute, and all of this is happening around us. But you know what else is happening? Money. Anybody interested in money? Oh, come on. So I don't know what research you look at, but there are many reports. You can look at the reports from Geospatial World, and it's always billions and trillions. You can look at the reports from, on the right-hand side and the bottom, TerraWatch. So this is just for Earth observation. And you know what the yellow stuff is? Applications, analysis. That's us, right? That's us geospatial people. It goes boom, 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 boom. And then as I was preparing my slides, Deloitte, 2 days ago, issued this report on Earth observation. Again, $1 trillion. A lot of money, right? Which is great. We are part of this industry that is actually, booming, changing, evolving, and is very well supported. And then the world needs us. The world needs us more than ever. I think we proved ourselves in COVID. I think we prove ourselves in literally every disaster. Every disaster, recovery, response, mitigation, preparedness, you name it. is powered by geospatial. And the sad part is that these disasters are happening more frequently. On the right-hand side is Pakistan last year and this year, the worst flood ever. And on the left hand, it's not even the developing world, it's France, it's Italy being flooded. And in the middle, one of the weirdest examples in Greece, this is last year, within 2 months, they get the worst flood ever and the worst wildfire ever, right? And then I usually use, so far until this July, I used the diagram on the, the left-hand side, where it's just like, ooh, last July was the hottest, month's day on Earth. And then this July, it was like, hey, this July, it's the hottest. Something is weird, right? Something is happening. And it goes back to how do you understand it? How do you prepare for it? How do you become resilient? How do you become sustainable? It's all eventually with us, right? With the geospatial data, with the geospatial magic that is actually you. So no wonder that geospatial is now starting to appear at the highest levels of government. So the UK Geospatial Commission, this is the British way of doing things. We do things very organized, top-down, to coordinate all the investments in a country. In the US, Federal Geographic Data Committee, with the Geospatial Data Act. At the UN level, there's a whole committee on experts, which is amazing because they bring minister-level people talking about geospatial, which is, again, fascinating. Geospatial is becoming also part of the lingo of climate. So I remember, I think, 5, 7 years ago, we were like, hey, climate people, we know, we've been doing this. We've worked at NASA, we've done cloud, please let us help you. And I think we're inching there in terms of becoming part of that dialogue, all over the place. And so do you want to know what's inside my head? It's like, all of this stuff. There's data and there's tech and there's policies and there's solutions and there's also more. And what's more is there's also ethics. I have this slide, the ethic, the Locust Charter, in every presentation since the Locust Charter came out by our friends at AGS, and I know Chris Tucker is also here. But this is not a law, this is not a policy, it's just you and your ethics, but we can be dangerous people with what we're able to do with geospatial and with AI these days, so it's good to keep in mind. But now we're starting to talk about law, again, at the UN level. Our friend Kevin Pomfret, who couldn't make it today, has a book now on geospatial and law. And when I looked, it's not only the location privacy stuff, right? It's actually because the geospatial data is multi-purpose, and what you can use it for here cannot be used there. And then when you combine it, what happens? And when that combination combined with something else for some other purpose, what happens? And then you overlay AI and you go, psh, yeah, we need to have these conversations. And you know what they tell us when they go on Capitol Hill and they're having conversations about AI? We are not in the room. Right? We need to be in the room because you guys are doing all the cutting edge, all the possible, right? Exploring the possible with all of this. So it was like, okay, it's my 1-year anniversary at the Taylor Geospatial Institute. I think I know the people, I know the community. What am I supposed to do? And the more I thought about this, and the smaller I felt, like, we are so small compared to this whole perfect storm that we're all in the middle of, because this is a unique time in the geospatial world. And so this is when you're handed this amazing gift and they say, here's the Taylor Geospatial Institute. You want to do big things. You want to fuel research, fuel innovation. You want to accelerate commercialization. You want to build a whole community with amazing partners in the St. Louis region. so unique at so many levels to have this gift, but the most unique part of that gift is actually St. Louis. So I go back to what Eddie said, because everybody here is here for geospatial. And this is very unique because this is not like a bubble. Like seriously, you go to a party in St. Louis and people know what geospatial is. I have been on the radio station, right, talking about geospatial, and people start, commenting. It's like, hey, we heard you on the morning news. It's like, woohoo, this is so cool. So this ability that you have everybody in on it, not just for the sake of geospatial, but also for the sake of applying geospatial, for the sake of the impact of geospatial on community development, on capacity building, on economic development. I think this is the unique, point in time where we're in. And, this is another busy diagram because this is my head we're talking about. So, and this is what we're trying to do with the Taylor Geospatial Institute. Many things at once, but everywhere is collaboration. And I call it intentional collaboration. We're trying to fuel, right, the little research, but we're also trying to look at what is the strategic initiatives that we can pull from the small pieces to do big things. We're trying to work with industry from the get-go. We're trying to build all of this on top of an open research infrastructure. So if you have any questions about that, I saw Mark Corver here. Please ask him, how can the open source community work with TGI to actually build an open research infrastructure? What does that mean? How is it different? How does it connect with other things? And so there's just all of this energy. And again, I'm not here to talk about everything that we're trying to do, but the whole idea is how can we do geospatial a little bit differently? So again, talk to Mark about GeoAI and Center of Excellence and all these initiatives. But I'm like fascinated now that we're launching, and I think this week we launched the Geospatial Innovation for the Food Security Challenge. And this idea of doing things differently. So instead of saying, we have this problem, who has the solution? We're starting with community engagement to even define the problems so that we don't do something that other people are already doing. So here in the community, global experts. My favorite part, we want to build teams. We're partnering with NASA Lifelines. I know also, I think some of them are here, to do the scientist speed dating. How cool, right? When we talk about things changing. We're not saying, hey, you teams, you won, good luck to you, we'll see you in 3 years. No, we'll be engaged every step of the way because we're building this research infrastructure with them that's not just for them. So I can't keep going on. It's a great opportunity, but it's a great challenge, right? That's why I really was trying to find that roller coaster. Help me. So it's a challenge because there are many questions we need to answer. We need to answer together. By the way, I have no answers for you, so maybe this is a good time if you want to leave, if you came here for answers. But, here it is. What should we be doing that's not duplicating what anybody else is doing? What should we be doing to ignite the collaboration? Collaboration doesn't work without trust. And how do you sustain collaboration? How can we make the most impact with what we have? Because none of us have unlimited resources, but we're trying to do, get the most ROI. And how can we lift everybody up, right? The way we get up is by lifting everybody up. That's why I keep saying, the nonprofit sector spoils you because you live in this coalition of the willing and everybody really wanting to do good. So can you think of what is the fifth and final question that's buzzing in my head if somebody said, go build something? How do you make money to stay here? Right? So all of this. So I've had, again, this is 1 year anniversary, some observations, which I'll go through very quickly. And what I'm very interested in is as you hear me say these things, whether you say, oh, Nadine, you're just like totally crazy, or, oh, you are so wrong, or, oh my God, that's what I feel as well. How can we, get over this together, right? And, I'm happy to take the crazy, the wrong, and the collaboration. It's all good. So I have 6 observations overall. The first one is I have this renewed appreciation for the nonprofit sector. And I think the people in the open source feel it as well, because these organizations, and this is just a subset of the nonprofit organizations working in the geospatial, sector, they are the ones who are waking up in the morning thinking not about making money, it's not industry, not about, government and policies, but genuinely about doing something good for everybody, right? And you see, from OGC to SGIF, to PLACE, to the World Geospatial Industry Council, so there's a mix, but there's also the geo people, the AGS, the data people, so OpenStreetMap and Overture, the platform folks, Radiant Earth, and then new ones that are popping in, the National Geospatial Collaborative, the SDG Data Alliance. So I was talking with Eddie when we were, chatting about this conference, and the reason I have this renewed appreciation is because I've lived it, first of all, and now I'm like on the other side, but at the same time, all these organizations are doing things with very, very, very limited resources. So open source people, I think that resonates, right? And that's only one aspect of it. The problem is, the issue is that they do things with very limited resources for everybody. And then we all start to depend on these resources at scale, like the largest governments, the largest organizations depend on a combination of these organizations and this resources in the open, and they start to ask more. So it's like the opposite problem, like the better you do, the more people expect from you, but your resources are not scaling. So if you haven't watched Paul Ramsey's keynote from last year, this is, again, he went deep into that open source angle because that's the same loop, right? That's the same issue. How do you get out of this? If you're so great and people depend on you, how can we match that with the right resources so that you can do more good things? So that's one. The second one is it's great, we're doing interdisciplinary, but there are these silos out there. I feel them when we talk about geospatial and civil versus geospatial and defense. There's still the geospatial versus the non-geospatial community, and that's a whole different talk about geospatial and data science and AI, blah, blah, blah. And then again, I sit to prepare this slide, and literally also last week, there's this article in Space News about the artificial divide between the space and the geospatial sectors. I was like, what do we need to do? To say this is a platform for everybody. Why the silos? So how do we break out of that? So that's another observation. It's like, interesting. The third observation, I think it's straightforward that the geospatial system, the ecosystem is evolving. And then I think now you hear more about the word ecosystem. So at the UN and in various European and Asian platforms as well, what now is being discussed is how do you move from national spatial data infrastructure to a geospatial ecosystem. And if you want to learn more about all of this, Josh Delmonico is giving a keynote tomorrow at GeoResolution. So, definitely he'd be the guy to talk about how this is going and what's the future of the infrastructure or the ecosystem. And then last month, this book was published by Geospatial World about the evolving role of national mapping agencies. It got me to think, well, first, I was very happy to see the Taylor Geospatial Institute actually referenced in there, which is pretty cool. When you open a book and you see, it's actually a good feeling. But most importantly, so yes, national mapping agencies used to hold all the data. It's the authoritative data source. And now you've got commercial, you've got open source. So it's like the world has changed. So, okay, there's rethinking the role of national mapping agencies. But then as I was looking at this, I was like, we need to rethink the role of everybody. Right? We need to rethink the role of universities, for instance, as I struggle to convince my 17-year-old to pick a university because he thinks he can learn everything on YouTube and be rich. Right? The role of nonprofits, and this is when, if you're following Jed Sandwall from Radiant Earth, he's now on this sort of like mission to look at the institutions of this time, this special time, and whether we have the right institutions around us. So there's a lot there, I think, that we have to think about. So when we talk about we're in the perfect storm, but we cannot just keep doing things exactly like we've done all this time. Which brings me to, this is a new realization. So TGI is made up of 7 universities in the greater St. Louis region and the Danforth Plant Science Center. And I started to get some insight into the money part that's being invested in geospatial research. And I just, again, it took me 2 minutes, went to the NSF website under geosciences, and this is the stuff that ends 24-25. You can't read it, but it's like 3 billion plus. There's a lot of money in geospatial research, and this is the explicit one. There's a lot that's not actually tagged as geospatial, but if you guys go and read, you'll say, oh, archaeology, check. Transportation, check. Digital twins, check. So there's a lot. And now we can take advantage of all the funding in AI, right? Again, it's not tagged geospatial AI, it's AI, but we are doing some amazing stuff in the geospatial field, and now we have this whole new stream, essentially, of funding that we can pursue. So this is all good, but actually my first observation was like, there's so much money in geospatial research, but I sit on the US National Geospatial Advisory Committee, right? And then when you sit in that committee, the federal, local, tribal, state, this is in the US, and then what are the problems? Addresses, land ownership, the boundaries, the county boundaries don't match, right? So this is when I go from, oh, I can do all of this, but it's like, but the real world still needs the simple stuff, and this idea of just like, how do we match this? On one hand, it's like I have one side of my mouth, it's like, there's so much money. And then on the other side, it's like, yeah, but we don't have an authoritative address database. And sorry if our county boundaries don't close. And then you go to the UN, and it's like, it's even worse in the developing world. The divide is really, really huge. So this is where the idea, and it started as a joke, but I'm not sure anymore how much of a joke it is. Maybe we need Tinder for geospatial. Maybe. Okay, and if any of you starts a company, I want in, call me. But that's why the title of the talk is just like about this, how can we make things a little bit more efficient in this, perfect storm we're in? Is there a way where we can match the talent and the resources and the problems with the right people and the right companies and the entrepreneurs and etc., right? There's something there. There's definitely something there in terms of the gap then between all the research that we're spending tons of money on and, amazing results, and the commercialization part, like making it into the real world. So I don't know if Jen Marcus is here. I know she's around, but that's what we and the Taylor Geospatial Engine are trying to do, to just like bridge this gap between research and commercialization, sourcing the right ideas, the right people, the right problems, building some infrastructure, accelerating, scaling, right? There's definitely a gap there. So that's an observation that, again, when you think about what can I do differently, all of these are opportunities to do to do things differently. And essentially, it's just like, oh, there's so much work that needs to be done. And I would just ask you, what can each of you do, right? So we still have a lot of work to do. I think we're getting there in terms of a pathway with the Tailored Geospatial Institute. This whole idea of the starting point is working with other people. The starting point is that we're a consortium. The starting point is we want to make some impact and we want to leave stuff behind for other people to lift them up. And this point about it becoming, okay, it's not just tech and data, innovation, solutions. It's not just the ethics and the law and the awareness and the talent. We can spend and we should spend some time on workforce training and retraining and all of that. That's another conference, another talk. But we have a panel tomorrow at GeoResolution on this issue. But then what's not explicit anywhere is this collaboration. And what I mean by collaboration, and I've been saying this for, all my time at OGC, it's not this collaboration because we are collaborating. This collaboration where we all come here, we bump into each other, and then we start collaborating, this like sort of random, incidental, it just happens because we're all, they call it, yesterday we had an event in DC and they called it, it's like the coalition of the willing. Right? The energy builds on the energy. No, I'm talking about something more deliberate, more intentional, an investment in collaboration, right? How can we do collaboration consistently, efficiently? So I have some thoughts, which I'm going to leave you with, and then, if we have time, Eddie will let me know. We can take questions, we can talk outside. You tell me, crazy, wrong, or it's not bad. So this is where even my glasses I cannot see. So here are some thoughts that have been bubbling up. So one, we need to find a better way to sustain the passion of the nonprofits that we depend on. So anybody who's doing things as a volunteer, there has to be a better model. And again, if you haven't listened to Paul Ramsey's keynote, definitely go and check it out. When we are talking about government funding, require multi-sector partnership, require commercialization potential, the path towards commercialization so that we can bridge that gap between research and commercialization. The incentives, I've been hearing a lot about the incentive. This is from a research perspective. Actually, not just an incentive to publish papers, but also an incentive to actually link directly to an impact. And I know there are universities in Europe and some here in the US who have started to link any research to an SDG goal, the Societal Development Goals from the UN. Support anything open, and it's not just open source, and it's not just open standards, it's open science, just like the more we can open, because this is not where the work is. We are the platform upon which, right, we go back to the disasters and the climate and the sustainability and your kids and my kids. This was an idea. We had this little workshop yesterday, and people said, you know what, we need to start to create some positions that are explicit. It is, you are the cross-sector collaborator. You're not just the director of partnership, you are the cross-sector. This is your job. Go, find the collaborators, go hunt. Promoting geospatial and the culture shift. And one thing that resonated a lot with me was maybe in this middle of this perfect storm, and hopefully I'm not the only one in it. I think you're all in it. We're all in this perfect geospatial storm. That maybe this is the time to learn, to unlearn and relearn. So there are things that we've been doing all this time that we need to take another look, right, at the whole ecosystem and say we can do this better and not just keep doing what we're doing over and over. Identifying incentives, hold us accountable, right? We should all stand here and say, I'm doing the Tailored Geospatial Institute and this is what I'm trying to do and hold me accountable. And everybody does that. And create a mechanism to match the problems with the research funding. This could be the Tinder for geospatial. And when I said this, I think, a month ago at an event. Afterwards, I had people giving me names for this new app, new geospatial matching app, and so on. So it's like, it says a lot about this community, that it's not just serious and impactful, but also so much fun. And also a lot of other ideas, which I'd love to hear. So this workshop yesterday, you know, because these slides, I did them, I don't know, over the weekend, but there were some things that resonated with me. And one of them was, of course, workforce training, reskilling, talk about it, do something about it, learn to unlearn. Collaboration, and usually when we do these projects, collaboration is not just a checkbox. Right? This goes back to the accountability, like, you know, force us to do more than just checking the box. I collaborated, yes. And my favorite part, something to leave you with, is democratize access to complex resources. And in that case, they were talking about cloud, they were talking about high-performance computing, because again, this is the time where, you know, you talk about not just AI, but now high-performance computing, quantum computing, and can we democratize the access to these complex resources, again, to lift everybody up. So somewhere, right, a discussion, ideas, thoughts, actions, examples that will come from us will eventually lead us to becoming more efficient, because I feel, and I said this at the UN about 2 months ago, sometimes I feel that what we're doing is, you know, we have resources and we throw everything at the wall, and some stuff sticks and some stuff doesn't. And it's like, can we be just a little bit more efficient, right? Because again, the world is depending on us, so we don't have 10 years, 20 years to experiment with things, especially that we know we can have the impact that the world wants from us. And that's why I said, actually, I don't have the answer. I think you have the answer. We should all be thinking about this. And then what I'd love is for us as geospatial people, whatever that means, to have that same message out there, the same voice. So we're all actually, you know, lobbying for this concept of geospatial actually changing the world. And with that, I thank you for being here, and I really, really look forward to just hearing your thoughts about whether I'm crazy, I'm wrong, or whether I missed some observations, because we all are sitting in our bubbles. We know what's happening in the bubble, but I would also encourage you to all reflect on whether we should unlearn some things and relearn to be more efficient. So thank you again, Eddie, and everybody. Happy to take questions, whatever works.
Is one of the ways that we could collaborate, or do you have any plans? The open source community, you know, we get by with code sprints and things like that. Is there a way that we can collaborate on convening outside of like FOSS4G and that sort of thing? Can TGI work with us on that?
Oh, that's the easy thing. I would totally punt it to Mark. I mean, Mark moved to St. Louis, and he's like, first of all, he was so excited. He's like,
she's talking about Mark Korver. Many of you, stand up, Mark. Many of you know Mark from his years at AWS, but he's now here at TGI, and he is here in the also. Yes, please. Yeah, so we're all. I mean, that's the beauty of this. I think one, right? We're in this. You know, time in the journey where all these ideas are more than welcome. It's like, you know, you can have the most impact if you did this and this, because you would be joining these and these communities. That's one. And two, we're all about convening. It's all about, I mean, even when we're doing our food security, we're not saying we're doing it. We're saying, please help us define things. So for open source, I'm sure, you know, Mark could be a local champion. Now I'm like giving him homework. But I mean, we have the same mission of lifting everybody up. Any other questions? Any? Yeah, yes. Rob, hang on.
So I've been married for 24 years, so I'm not too familiar with how Tinder would Tinder would dovetail into geospatial. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes. So actually, I'm not that crazy. I was recently on a trip to Brazil with the whole St. Louis geospatial ecosystem because we're doing global work in agriculture and plant science. And I met a lot of Argentinian startups. So I'm like, what's the deal here? I never knew there were so many startups in Argentina. And they showed me the app. There is an app, right, where this was what inspired the idea, where essentially you've got the entrepreneurs, right? If you have a crazy idea and you say, I want to do this. Who wants to do this with me? Chick, chick, chick. You have the matching between the technical people and the business people, because eventually it's not just the geeks. You need to make money. And so that matching. And then when we were talking about this with some government partners, it was like, again, if there's a way, because there's so many PhD and master students and undergrad students doing projects, how about there's this list of, here are projects that you can work on. They're not fictional, they're real. This county would use it, or this agency would use it, and then we can take it to commercialization. And then, so you see, like, some sort of a platform of opportunities, ideas, and people willing. And that's how far I got. But I'm happy to explore more because I think, maybe we could do this if it's helpful. Yeah.
Thanks. Other questions? Well, Nadine, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Again, I want to remind everybody, we wouldn't be here without our sponsors. I especially want to thank our diamond sponsor, T-Cardor, and our gold sponsors, WearRobots and Crunchy Data. So we have a little time until our next sessions at 10:30. I know the day is still packed with sessions, so go out, visit the sponsors, and have a great rest of the day, and we will see you throughout the day. Thanks again, Nadine.
Thank you.